Welcome back to the Boundary Corner Podcast, a part of the College Huddle Network, along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson. And as always, we are brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts, down at Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. And before we get everything started tonight, because we got obviously a lot to unload, we have been preaching the last 3 weeks. We had something to give away. We've been asking people to put $19.99 in the chat. Well over 100 people did that and subscribed to the YouTube channel. And earlier today, Brian, via the magic of everything online nowadays, because you can put names in a thing and it'll pull it out, we have our winner.
I can throw the process out there real quick.
It's a pain in the ass.
All right. So I gathered all the people that commented. I got them assigned a number. I had AI pick a number for me, gave them the numbers that we got, had them pick a number, trace that back to the name, and Curtis is going to read it for you.
The name of the winner, and we hope you are listening tonight, because do jump in the comments and we can start trying to get in touch with you. It is Jonathan Harris 8975. Jonathan Harris 8975. We appreciate you listening. Not only that, but subscribing as well. We will ask you to get in touch with us. Brian, what's going to be the easiest way?
Hey, Twitter is probably going to be the best. Hit us up at Twitter. If you can't do that, if you don't have a Twitter, best is going to be email us, admin@boundarycornervt.com.
Yep. Big congratulations to Jonathan there. And we are a 4-man crew tonight. We got a lot to unload. And usually we start with tell the truth. I had to talk to these guys. I said, we can't tell the truth, because I think tell the truth is going to take a little while tonight. I'm just being dead serious. I don't think we're going to be here for 4 or 5 minutes doing tell the truth on each section, because we got a shit ton to unload about what's going on with the program right now. So we are going to start kind of out of routine. We're going to start with Know the Enemy. We need to talk about Clemson real quick, because that game is Saturday at 3:30 at Lane Stadium. So we're going to jump into that right now. We're going to talk a little bit about their players. Brian did some tape review. Let's start with the offense, Brian, led by Garrett Riley, obviously from the Riley family of offense. What's he running? And what are we looking to see Saturday on at 3:30?
Yeah, looking at their offense, I mean, this is a fast-paced, kind of run-first, air raid-esque system. Emphasizes aggressive play calls. They run a lot of 11 personnel, and they have a really big focus on kind of establishing that run, so they can get really aggressive with their pass play calls.
All right. And obviously led by, former 5-star quarterback Cade Klubnik out of Austin, Texas. Solid numbers so far this year with Klubnik, if y'all hadn't seen. 21 touchdowns, 3 picks, well over 65 or just over 65% completion, right at 2,000 yards. And if you look at his rushing numbers, like this is not like Kyle fucking McCord last week. Cade's got some wheels. Y'all seen it. He averages about 5 times every time he takes off. So what else do we see from him, Brian? And then, guys, anything y'all want to chime in with after Brian gives his little breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, looking at Cade, man, he's he definitely dual threat, kind of a pass first dual threat quarterback. Has that gunslinger mentality, so we'll sling it in the similar way we saw with McCord last week, but definitely has more of a threat to take off in the running game than what we saw from McCord in Syracuse. This is a guy that can make all the throws. Does really well with slinging the football around. Can make some things a little bit off platform as well. Probably not his bread and butter, but definitely not a weakness either. He progresses through those reads pretty well, especially for marginally experienced collegiate quarterback at this point. But thinking about gunslinger mentality, he can force throws, especially when he's under duress, and especially when he's kind of out there big play hunting. Like a lot of times, he'll try to make the big play instead of the right play.
Tally, Sheldon, anything on Klubnik, what y'all seen? I know y'all have watched games. Sheldon, I know you've probably looked at some data points.
Yeah, PFF really likes him, even more so than some of the overall efficiency metrics would suggest. Now, why is that? I mean, I would say, a couple things. Pretty solid as a runner, so that's part of it. Also, his turnover worthy play percentage is pretty low, less than 2%, which is pretty good. So he's avoided the disastrous plays overall in the season for him. 21 to 3 touchdown interception ratio. So he's been pretty efficient with the football the entire season, really.
Yep, same thing I was gonna say. I mean, 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You got to get some pressure on him.
Definitely got to get some pressure on him. But the damn pain in the ass thing about them, as y'all have seen, is they've got a damn good running game as well. If y'all hadn't seen Phil Maffa, Phil, again, Clemson somehow still recruiting at a high level, y'all. Like, I was telling them, how did they lose to Louisville? I'm trying to figure this out because every single time I'm looking up guys and ratings, top 25 player, top 50 player, top 200 player. Oh, he's one of the low ones. He's top 300. How did they lose to a Louisville team at home? But let's talk about Maffa. He was a top 200 player, 4-star guy already this year. Well over 800 yards, probably well on his way to 1,000 yards, just about 6.5 a carry. Brian, what else are you seeing from him? Because he's a big boy at that.
Yeah, he's a bruiser between the tackles, man. Kind of a little bit similar to Toot in terms of after contact, really good after contact. Good vision between the tackles. And, honestly, when we look at our defense, kind of areas that we've struggled, that's where he's good in, between the tackles, turning some plays that should be a 1 or 2 yard gain into those 8 or 10 yard gains, keeping the sticks moving. I'd call him an above average receiver out of the backfield. He's not great, but he's definitely serviceable in that capacity. Probably the only weakness in this game, he kind of lacks super high top end speed, and he's not really that elusive in the open field. So, he's not necessarily a home run threat, but he's a guy that's going to just grind you out the whole game.
Tally, Shelton, anything y'all seen from him, watching, or nothing?
Nothing.
That's accurate. This is
Nothing.
accurate right here.
We right now we trying to hold emotions in, y'all, because if once they explode in a little while here, it ain't no going back. Yeah. That's why I knew we couldn't do this later, because once the emotions exploded, and they are going to explode. All right, Brian, I looked at the wide receiver room. They don't have that standout person. So for so many years, Clemson always had the stood out person, whether it was Hopkins, whether it was Sammy Watkins, either the years where it was Hunter Renfrow, you knew Hunter Renfrow was like that guy. So you looked at the tape. Who really popped to you over the when you were reviewing the tapes there?
So looking at what they're doing, looking at kind of what's hurt us a lot, my eyes kind of went a little bit a different way here. So there's no real wide receiver that's jumping out there, both stat wise, play wise. They're kind of just guys, in my opinion. It's kind of riding the hot hand. But in terms of looking at what has kind of hurt our defense a lot this year, I looked at Jake Brenningstool. Tight ends have really given us fits, especially on those kind of plays that have kept the sticks moving, kept the defense on the field for longer than we like. So he's a guy that catches the ball well, blocks well. They use him as a decoy. He can do a little bit of everything that you want from a tight end from a passing game perspective. So he's a guy that, he may not go out there and catch for 80 plus yards, but he could be a guy that burns us on a handful of key first downs that keeps them on the field.
And obviously that's been a kind of an issue kind of all year in the losses is extending drives. Like a drive should be dead, gone. They should be punting the ball. And obviously that does worry you. Sheldon, Tally, anything on Jake or any of the receiving threats?
Yeah, 4-star, high 4-star, low 5-star guy, the tight end. He's very good. If they do anything where they're kind of running that little dump play to him, we're gonna have to adjust really quickly because he can catch, he can move, he can run. He's 6'6", 250, somewhere around there. He's got experience because he's a senior, so we'll have our hands full.
Sean, anything from you?
Yeah, Brian Wesco ranks pretty highly, 17.5 average yards per reception. Only 2 TDs, but typically when he catches the ball, it tends to go for a pretty big gain.
Yeah, I do see that. Only a couple touchdowns, but again, it's that over-the-top play. And again, with you have Maffa, up front there, keep pounding you. I know somebody threw it in there about him getting better. It usually is the same with the big guys. It always goes like that. All right, let's flip over. Let's hit a little bit of their defense led by Wes Goodwin, who I was reading after he got torched last week. He might be getting fired. I know Dabo don't like firing his people, but Wes Goodwin may be getting fired in a few weeks here if he don't get the crap together. Probably by the end. If they lose South Carolina, he's gone. He's gone. I'll say that if they lose to South Carolina. But Brian, what's he running? And what is their big philosophy on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean it's a hybrid 4-3 defense. I mean, we're kind of looking at something we're very familiar with this week. Emphasis on stopping the run, letting that defensive line pin their ears back in those those late downs once they get you off the schedule there. So that's really their game plan. They've got a bunch of hosses up front that can really do that very well, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them here shortly.
Yeah, we are going to talk about them because that was the first thing. Like when I looked at where their run stop was, and I started looking at the hosses up front. DeMonte Capehart, Peyton Page just jumped off. First of all, super high-ranked guys when they came out, one in 2020 with Capehart, 2021. Peyton Page, if that name sounds familiar, he's from down in Greensboro. I do believe for a while the Hokies were in the mix for Page. Tally, you're more the expert on that, but I feel like we were in the mix for Page for a little while. Coming out of Greensboro, obviously didn't land in. Both those guys, top 247 players. Capehart, effectively basically a top 50 player, a top 10 defensive tackle. And Tally, they ain't small by any means, are they?
No, heck no. And you got size all across the board. Even when you feel like Clemson's having a down year, they still have talent all over the field. So when you talk about all these high-ranking guys, they're high-ranking for a reason. I think NIL has spreaded some of the wealth out with some players and transfers and stuff, but schools like Clemson are still going to be really talented schools, and you have to outcoach them to beat them.
Brian, what did you see on both these guys? Where are they playing as far as is one a 3 tech, or we got a shade one eye? What are we seeing from these guys from your tape observations?
Yeah, when we look at at the tape, the more traditional 3 technique is going to be Peyton Page. He's a lot more comfortable with that position. They will kind of move these guys around a little bit, but he's definitely more comfortable 3 technique. Speaking of Page in particular, technician, high motor, really good quickness at the snap of the football. Probably when you look at weaknesses, probably a little underpowered for an interior guy. He's got what you would call weight room strength, but it doesn't always translate onto the field like you would like it to see. So he kind of can get caught up hand fighting instead of shedding kind of in the interior there. But he's definitely more the 3 technique. When we look at Capehart, kind of the opposite, exceptionally strong at the point of attack. I mean, this dude is strength personified, but still has great athleticism for that size. Plays with good leverage, really good at shedding those blocks. Probably the only thing that he struggles with is, pad level, playing a little bit too tall in the middle there.
All righty. And there was one other guy. Golly, I lost his name. I thought I had it wrote down. They did have another pretty big guy. Occasionally they'll line up at end. If I find it, I'll get it to you. But I want to talk about the edge because obviously we know there's a problem. People are already putting it in the chat and everything. TJ Parker is obviously their big stud. There is no doubt. And that's fine. You got one stud, it's okay. Because you can do things. But Brian, Tally, I want you to talk on TJ Parker in a second here because he comes from down your way. But we got TJ Parker. We know he's all world. Huge recruit. Tally's going to break that info down in a second. But who's the other guy that may give us some problems Saturday?
Peter Woods, man. Still a young guy. Kind of a tweener, D tackle, DN. They line him up a little bit of everywhere, but he's a guy that they've played a lot more at DN this year. Quick off the snap, can bend the edge surprisingly well, and has incredible stamina for a bigger guy. And also for a bigger guy, great motor and violent hands. So he's a bigger end. He's not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and just absolutely speed rush you off the edge, but he's got a lot of tools out there. And like I said, he's got that position flexibility where they can slide him inside when they need to.
Tally, what about TJ Parker, man? I mean, he is from down in Alabama. Is that a name that you were familiar with, before he even got to Clemson?
Oh yeah. TJ Parker is, I think we talked about somebody last week from Phoenix City is where he's from, Central Phoenix City High School. Always a powerhouse. I mean, they've got many state championships. They play in the biggest division in Alabama. Very, very talented player. I mean, he had offers from everywhere. I think he kind of got down to Penn State and Clemson and Alabama, something like that. So uber talented guy, great body size. Was a monster in high school, just you see it all over their roster. You know what I'm saying? But also what you see over their roster is that they're very beatable. With them having these talented guys, they're a beatable team. But just staying on TJ. TJ Parker is a handful to deal with. He's a great player and very highly ranked out of high school. Like I said, another 5-star, 4-star, high 4-star if you want to say, but may have been like a 98 somewhere around there. So very talented kid, and you have to coach to beat defenses like that. I mean, that's all I can say. But he's going to be a handful.
And real quick, and somebody put up James's in thing because I didn't get a chance to.
But that was a good point. We may not see
Cape officially ruled out.
Officially ruled out.
Officially ruled out. Sorry, y'all. We occasionally go to work, and occasionally we don't get to listen to everything and read everything. And I got swamped with work when I got home. All the kids were here with me. So, if you hear them in the background, I'm sorry. It was announced in Dabo's presser earlier today that Capehart will not play this week. That is a huge loss for them, potentially a huge win for the Hokies in that sense.
So you might see a lot of Williams. You might see a lot of
Williams.
Woods maybe sliding inside.
Yeah.
A little bit
so
more,
there you go. There you go. Making Chris laugh out here. That's a good thing. All right. As always, it's Clemson. I won't say it, Tally, but you know it. Who's the white glue kid? Because you know they got one. And is it a white glue kid?
Man, I mean, the quarterback, whoever, a linebacker, and they got plenty of them that's gonna come in and they're gonna play hard. And again, I honestly I looked at hardly no Clemson players because whoever lines up on the field against us, it doesn't matter. It does not matter because we can play with the best of teams and we can play down with the worst of teams. But it's going to start with us and how we handle things, which is what we're going to talk about a little later.
Oh, yeah, and it's fastly approaching. But, Brian, I know Woody Wooders is one of them. He is the white glue guy. But they got another glue guy out there as well that you liked on tape.
Yeah, I mean, it starts and ends with Barrett Carter, man. Exceptional athleticism, really good change of direction, sideline to sideline type linebacker. Can do a little bit of everything. Good against the run, pretty good in pass coverage, good blitzer, high football IQ guy. Looking at him, probably a bit undersized, which kind of even, feeds more into the glue guy aspect of his game there. Probably the biggest weakness is that he will occasionally miss some run fits here or there, but in terms of athleticism and just overall ability, he's the guy that kind of holds everything together on that defensive side.
All right, Sheldon, you said you had a couple things you wanted to throw in here about the defense.
Well, yeah, and the team as a whole. So Clemson is not elite at any one particular thing, but they're very well rounded. So they rank mid-20s, high 30s in pretty much all of the big advanced statistical categories. Defense, EPA per rush allowed 32nd, per dropback 31st. They're top 35 in EPA per rush and dropback on offense as well. So success rate's pretty good too. So just a pretty well-rounded team. They're not bad at anything. The one set that stands out to me is they lead the country in rush rate below expectation. So in other words, they pass the ball more frequently than you would expect based on down and distance. So they're going to sling the ball around the yard pretty much the whole game. So it's going to obviously put a lot of stress on Tech's corners, certainly linebackers, the safeties. So we'll see how that goes. But I would say overall, just a solid team that does everything pretty well, just not necessarily elite at one particular thing.
All righty. So there it is. I told y'all we were going to get through this quick. Ain't as usual where we get a lot more looking at people. Y'all know Tally. I love Tally because Tally will sometimes sneak in, go watch extra game film, and then pop in with a couple numbers. It won't going to be that way this week. It just won't. No. So as y'all know,
it's a couple reasons. It's a couple reasons for that.
Oh, it is a couple
number
reasons.
One, I think not a lot of people need to know who Clemson is.
True.
Right.
So
True.
I mean, we kind of know who they are. We see them. They get kind of plastered up on any key ACC game of the week. National media covers them. If you're just casually listening to ESPN or Fox or any of those, you're going to get a decent idea of who the guys are for Clemson. The other reason is what happened on Saturday to the Hokies and how we wanted to give
all of us
or tell the truth a little bit more room to breathe this week, if you will.
Because we do need to let it breathe. And as we go over to tell the truth, we are brought to you by Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street, Blacksburg. I'm surprised Jeremy didn't message us, want to come on this week so he could scream and curse as much as Jeremy does. But we've got to tell the truth because the truth is this week, we've got a lot to tell about ourselves. And I feel like we do this once a year. Obviously, we always do it in a state of the program, but there's a lot going on when you lose your fourth game of the year by less than one score. Virginia Tech has lost 4 games by less than one score. I think it is a total combined, is it 21? 4 games by 21 points?
Or 22 points.
It's 21 because it was 7, 7, 4, and 3. And we got to start talking about Coach Pry. We got to start doing a lot of stuff. So right now, this is how we're going to start. I want to see it in the comments as well because I want to see how the pulse of Hokie Nation is going. But here's what I got to go. First of all, I'm going to start with Tally because I'm starting with you.
Iron Man,
Okay.
let's do it.
Iron Man, pull the mask down. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being all in, 10 being completely out, where are you on Coach Brent Pry as it stands? Remember the 5th of November.
10 being all out.
10 being completely out.
Without explanation right now, I would probably say 7.
Okay.
7 for me.
7 for you. Shelton?
7.
Okay, y'all are at the 7s. Okay. I thought Saturday tally might have been at a 9.7, y'all.
Yeah, I relaxed a little bit. I got my calm hat on right now.
You guys calm that down. I think Shelton was about an 8.7 on Saturday. I was at like a 6.5. I'm now at a 5. Brian?
I'd say 5, 5.5. Give me 5.5.
Give you 5.5. He just wants to be slightly above me. I gotta be the one on the low end of the totem.
Nah, because I mean, what I'm basically saying with my 5.5 is that I'm no longer in, but I'm also not out.
Right.
I'm
in the middle.
I'm sitting
I'm in
right
the middle.
there.
So let's go with it. Tally, and Shelton's y'all. Shelton's going to like turn. I got the fire and gasoline below us here. Me and Brian gonna try to be the water, and it's not gonna be pretty. But Tally, go, man, because obviously I got some stuff we're gonna talk about. But what is your hot button issue?
Well, we were talking about this. Everybody wants to know why I got the Iron Man mask on. I'm just here to learn. So Sheldon, actually, I'm gonna toss it to him and let him start this thing off because I think he's gonna get me riled up because he's gonna come with some interesting stuff from the presser. I watched it, and from the game as well. But I'm going to sit back and relax for a few minutes.
Hey, Chris, right there with me. I love that.
Oh, God. All right.
Let Sheldon go.
Fire away.
All right, folks. Well, the time has come to start the Brent Pride discourse. It feels like a recurring theme every week that there's some type of game or clock management issue, and we saw more of that on Saturday against Syracuse. So, in the wake of obviously the discourse about not taking a timeout, letting the offense for Syracuse run the clock out at the end of regulation, deciding to go defense first in overtime. People can have their opinions one way or the other, but for me, there was one thing in particular that stuck out, and I think there was a tremendous lack of clarity that we had in Price, post-game comments and his comments in the press conference afterwards today on Tuesday about what his thought process was. So, first of all, Coach Pry, if you're listening, if your family's listening, I love you, brother, but I got to cut you out because there was some BS that went on these past few days. So, to start off, Pry decided not to take that timeout to prevent the runoff at the end of the first half when Tech, potentially was getting towards field goal range. After the game, he said the communication with the refs was unclear, but it appears that he changed his story a couple times. So to the post-game radio people, he said he chose not to take the timeout to prevent the runoff. Why he did that, I don't know. Maybe he's getting some bad advice from someone in his ear, possibly. That seems like a likely scenario. But after the game, in the official post-game press conference, he said he did not trust the field goal unit that had leaky protection in order to be able to even bother attempting a field goal. Now, why he would say that when John Love has already hit multiple 50 yards before in this season, I do not know. But he changed his story there, so that's one. Okay, so to me, this looks like he's covering for poor decision-making. All right, now, regarding the poor communication with the officials, I think this is on Pry. I know the officials can sometimes make mistakes and they don't explain things concise in the right way. But if you as a head coach are not getting in their ass and demanding that they give you a reasonable explanation, you are not doing your job. I don't think Pry right now has the acumen that we need of a head coach to really get in their ass and demand that they give him a response. Which it just seemed like to me like he was content with everything that happened. He had a little conversation that was nice and polite. Maybe, his eyebrows got a little bit furred, but he was not responding to the level of intensity that I think he needed to as a head coach. So we go now to the Tuesday presser. He said in the presser that there was no clarity in the moment with regards to the officials and their explanation. But he also said he did not submit that play to the conference office for review. Why would you not submit the play for review if you didn't get clarity? That does not make any sense. If you felt the explanation was insufficient, if you thought the refs made a mistake, maybe not giving you the timeout back, why would you not submit that play? That to me screams that he's just doing cover. He's doing cover because he knows he made a mistake, and he doesn't want to admit that. He doesn't want to throw himself under the bus, or maybe the people that are giving advice under the bus. And then lastly on this, he also said today, quote, "We have to be the aggressor. We have to be on the attack in that situation." Then why didn't you attack? Why did you not go downfield? Why did you not take a timeout when Syracuse was on their last possession of regulation, save some time? Why did you not go down the field in that last drive with Colin Schley, 29 seconds left, 3 timeouts? Why were you not the aggressor?
You needed 40 yards. Needed 40 yards
yards.
Got the boot.
Yep, and he was not the aggressor. So, again, just a complete contradiction, a series of contradictions, statements that didn't make sense. I think Pry is doing cover. I think he knows he made another gaffe, and he obviously doesn't want to admit that to the fans, which has been obviously a recurring theme. So just really disappointing with how he articulated that to the fan base. Again, I love you, Pry, but that's just I just don't like it, man. I think it's a bad look.
Tally?
Man, it's hard to follow that, but I needed it. I mean, he made it sound elegant too. Like, he did a great job to explain a lot of the stuff and go through everything after the game, that kind of we're feeling. And it's the team takes the identity of the coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, we coach too soft. We're playing too soft at certain times. It's the same thing. It's a broken record. Like, if you were a 500, coach and a 500 coach in, close games, then maybe I would ease up a little bit, but you can't be like 1-12 or 1-11, and then you come with the same coach speak. Like, it gets old, man. And again, like Sheldon said, like, I love Pry. I think Pry's a good guy. I think he's a pretty decent coach. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes coaches just don't fit. And again, I'm not saying that I'm all out. It's going to take some things in. I know we'll discuss it a little bit here in a minute, but it takes some things to change, to have to really see change, and I think right now we're just hearing the same old stuff. It's just, well, we got to get better. Well, how do you get better? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to, I would rather him walk in and say, I ain't fucking talking to nobody today. I'm upset. Find me. The refs fucked us. I don't want to have a conversation with nobody. Everybody get out. I don't care if you come watch or not. Like, I want you to just be mad and get up, like, change everything that you're doing, because the nice, polite, coaching and on the field, it's old, man. It's old. And fans are tired of watching the same stuff, blow leads, lose by 3 points, lose by 6 points. And then we hear the same thing afterwards. The players are tired of losing. The players, they're playing their butts off. I got to give them everybody knows that this team doesn't quit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody understands that, but that gets kudos. Like, you gotta get to a point where you're not just, well, shoot, I know when we play Virginia Tech, man, we're gonna be beat up, but we're gonna win. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're that team. The team that we think other people are, that's who we are. How Virginia Tech fans look at a team like Georgia Tech, well, we know Georgia Tech's gonna give us a good game. That's what people think about us. That's what we are. We that team. When you go through at the beginning of the season and you're looking at where you're going to get your wins and losses, people's looking at VT and saying that's a dub, easy. No matter where we play them at. If we play them at their house or we play them at our house, that's on coaching. You got to change some stuff. And it don't take, oh, well, Beamer did it. Man, stop saying that. He ain't Beamer. Stop saying Beamer did it in this many years and this coach did. It is coaches that are taking over programs and winning in the first year. Elko did it at Duke. Manny Diaz is at Duke. He's doing the same thing. And I bet Duke wasn't in a better position. In a worse position than Virginia Tech was. It's about the same. I'm just saying. And we can pick other schools to talk about. It's just it gets redundant, man, and it's so frustrating that you watch these kids go out and you even watch the coaches do some stuff that works. The coaches will do something that works, and it's like it surprises them. They'll do something and it works, and they go, "Oh shit, we ain't gonna do that again." You never go back to it. You know what I'm saying? It's just, again, I know it's inexperience at coaching, but now you have to have some kind of experience. Like, I did some stupid shit when I first got with my wife, right? Like, walk in from work, take your shoes off, kick them to the side, go straight to the bathroom. In your mind, you're just thinking, I've been at work all day. I got to go use the bathroom. But your wife is standing there like, you walked in the house and you didn't even say, "Hey, honey," or "I'm home," or nothing. I'm telling you, you're only going to do it once or twice before it becomes a problem. Well, Coach Pride, you keep walking in the house and you don't say that I'm home. And we getting tired of it. I'm going to stop right there for now. Brian, what you think, man?
You know what? That was gold. I like that. Like Sheldon and Tally have like completely set the stage for me here. And I think what it comes down for is something that Tally kind of talked about but didn't maybe say directly, is that a lot of times it feels like these coaches are playing not to lose the game. That's what it feels like. We're playing not to lose the game. And when you play not to lose, sometimes it's going to bite you in the ass. And we've seen that anytime it gets close, that's when we falter because we played not to lose. When we look at the defensive side of the ball, these late half, whether it's first half or second half, collapses got to stop. When we look at the offensive side of the ball, when you get a lead, stomp on some throats. We don't do that. It's like we think that 18 is enough, and we go out there and we just kind of, put it out there, and all of a sudden you get one mistake here, one mistake there, and now it's a game again. And now you got a tight asshole because it's a game again, and now you don't know what to do, and now you're in react mode. And we don't do well in react mode. We play well when we play loose and confident. Anybody that's watched this team knows that. And we're not doing that consistently enough against these opponents. So that's all I got.
From what Brian said, man, I'm gonna go back on that as well. And what he said, when he's talking about there was a lot that you just threw in there, and I kind of lost my train.
Was it the tight
that kind of threw me off a little bit because when you said that, and then Andretti pops up and he puts a comment up there for me to see. But I'm thinking about what Brian says, and he says when we play better when we play loose. And again, I know we're gonna get into some more stuff. People were talking in the game, and I know football. I get it. I know sports. But like my son had his first basketball game today. Thank the Lord. Very, very thankful he's back on the court. He went through a whole game. He was rusty because he got injured playing basketball, and he was a little rusty, but he had a great game. He went in, he competed, and they won. So great job by them. But they have a legendary coach that coaches his varsity basketball team. My son plays on the freshman team, and Coach Doss is his name, Jack Doss. You can look him up in Huntsville, Alabama. He's won, I think, 12 state championships at 4 different schools. But Coach Doss probably is about 70, and he coaches like he's 70. He plays stall ball. When he gets up in a lead, if he gets up on a team that he thinks that he's not supposed to get up on, if he's playing a team that's more talented than he is, and he gets up on that team, he is going to hold a ball. He's going to try. If he's up 20-18, he'll try to hold a ball. And guess what happens? You want to know what happened, Brian?
What's that?
They steal the ball, they go score, then they continue scoring, and then now we're trying to play catch up. I feel like our staff does the same thing. Pry is a traditional coach with a school that has traditions. We're not a traditional school. We don't do the things good that Penn State or Alabama does, where we just have 5-star backs that run the ball well, or they have a line that always send people. Like, it's different for us. We do have some things that we're known for, but we don't have a tradition that is going to win us games. So my thing is, when you look at how we played Georgia Tech, I bet Price hard-on was about that long. Like, that's the kind of game that he wants. He wants to go out and play defense and get 3 and outs, and he don't care if we move the ball and we just continue stopping them, and they kick it back to us, and we waste a little clock, and then we win 21-6, you know, have some kind of special play and get up, and then we can't do that. You have to continue scoring. You have to continue. If they're going to give you points, take them. I don't think that Syracuse could have stopped our passing offense. They still ain't stopped Stephen Gosnell, but guess what we start doing? Some different shit to get away from what we need to do to win the game. And then that happens. We have a collapse. Tired of it, man. Curtis, I know you got some stuff to say, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I missed your rant, unfortunately.
That's all right. I got more.
I know you got more, but I wanted to hear that first one, unfortunately. But it's when it's the same shit, different day. That's what starts irritating you. If we had lost 4 games 4 completely different ways this year, I think we'd be sitting here. We'd still be mad, right? We'd still be mad, but we wouldn't be having this conversation. Oh, Miami blew us out. Oh, we blew a lead. Oh, they got up on us. We tried to fight back. But it's now the same narrative over and over. And I told Tally this week, y'all, the 4 games we lost this year, we had a lead at Vanderbilt at the end of the game. We tied Rutgers at the end of the game. They drove and kicked a field goal. We had a 10-point lead on Miami, and obviously we had an 18-point lead, which we all get upset about. But we had a 7-point lead with 4 seconds to go. It's the same narrative. And y'all keep talking about the shell on offense, and we don't go to things. The defense just seems like it's scared. Oh, we're going to have to do this. It's okay if we give up a touchdown. No, it's not. You can't. So we're seeing the same things on the defensive side of the ball over and over. Because if the defense, y'all just think about this, just 2 holds. We hold the ball. We hold 2 times this year. 2 times. We're 7-2. We hold 2 times. That's not saying we could be better. I like what James just put up here because I saw that as well. We are 8-0-1 if games ended at the 58th minute. 8-0-1.
Pitiful.
If you
really want to be mad, Curtis, if you really want to feel some type of way, go and look at the last 3 years. That's what I need you to do. Curtis, you're on mute too.
Curtis is going off.
Play that old game. Can y'all hear me?
Now we can.
Can you hear me now? Nope.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody hearing me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear y'all, so hold on.
Now you're on mute again.
You're on mute again.
You're on mute again. Curtis, you are killing it.
Whole microphone back. So what I was saying is we get into those situations. It's the same thing at the end of every game. It's the same thing. And then you're sitting here and it's like, do something different. Now, he is who he is. But the whole thing that happens, and it's all of us. I don't care who you are, what field of profession you're in. You listen to people, you intake, and that's usually how you make your decisions. Whether it be Callie doing marketing, myself doing what I do in my company with learning and development, Brian what he does in data analytics, and Sheldon what he does. You listen to people, right? You listen to advice. You listen to what they are supposed to do. Apparently, there's somebody in the box, a coach on the staff in the box that has the book of what you're supposed to do in these situations. Now, I don't know if they are telling our head coach of exactly what they should be doing. Because to what Shelton said earlier, in that situation, here's what should happen. My phone needs to shut up. So why is it the same things? What I would say is if you're fucking up the same shit the same way every time, then somebody is telling you wrong. Somebody is not getting you ready. It eventually falls on you. But like all of us, like every single person in this chat over here, there's people that influence them. Callie, you talk about your wife. I bet you didn't kick off the shoes and walk to the bathroom no more after that. Certainly, you'd be like, "Hey, honey, how are you? You have a good day. I love you." So it's still on him to change. It's still on him to be better. But the whole thing it comes to is who's around you. I like what Andretti said there. It's not attack, because at the end of that game and even the second half, I know we missed tackles. We played a little over aggressive, and then some mad shit happened. What happened? We went super under aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. You cannot be in the moment. You have to be who you are. So I know we got a lot more and we're going to keep going, but I'm going to say this, and I want to see what people think out there, because I think he's back as a coach next year. I do.
Oh, yeah, he's back.
I think he's back.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how we feel, I don't think there's a way he's not back.
Yeah, he's back.
Well,
he can lose all the last 3 games and he's not going anywhere. They're going to give him another year.
Or 2.
He
can lose the last 3 games and not make a bowl game, and he's still going to be the coach next year. 100%.
Yeah. But what it usually is at that point in time, what happens is, like what I'm kind of leading into here, is currently this coaching staff and the analytics people and everybody made up of it on and off the field is constructed. It cannot stay this way, because you cannot keep doing the wrong things. And so what I want to pivot to y'all, and I don't care how many it is, it can be 0, or you can say the whole staff can come back. I don't think it's going to look the same. But tell me, Shelton Moss, who is safe on this staff right now? Who is safe? Who will not be let go?
Definitely Tyler Bowen. I mean,
okay.
I think he's been in his bag, not just last week, but throughout the majority of this year. Like, you go into Syracuse on the road, score 31 points, put up over 400 yards of offense with a backup QB and a running back. We're top 30-ish in SP Plus, which was above our preseason expectations, so they've overperformed there. I think he's done a good job. I know it's hadn't been consistent every game, but part of that is just working with players that have limitations and trying to get guys more experience and develop them. And I think he's been fantastic. I know people are always gonna hate the OC, man, but it's a tough job. You always get the blame when things go wrong. You never get credit when things go right. I think he's done a great job. So I'm a big Bowen advocate right now.
All right, who else? Give me a couple. Give me your list of absolutely safes.
Brooks done a good job with the running back room, and I think Crook, for the most part, the O-line's gotten better. The younger players, I think, have developed pretty well. So I would definitely keep them.
That's your 3.
The cornerbacks coach, forgetting the name.
Derrick Jones.
Yeah. I know some of the recruiting returns haven't been great, but he's done a pretty good job developing that room. Dante Lovett looks great. I don't think you would want to risk, letting a guy like that go. So I'd keep him as well.
Okay.
And JC.
And JC. Anybody else? Sheldon, the next thing you don't know, you're going to say we got to keep the whole staff together, which we're going to all fly off at you and say, no, we can't keep the whole staff together. We're 5-4, not 9-0.
It's going to happen. They ain't going nowhere.
The people I did mention, you can, they can make some decisions after the season.
All right. Callie?
What's my question?
Who is safe on this staff? Who is absolutely, if you were selling in his ear, you ain't firing him because you lose your damn mind.
So if I'm looking at the real answer, everybody's safe, because I don't think that our football program has the nuts to get rid of anybody. I don't think that anybody – I think Pride's too nice. He hired a lot of friends. I don't think he will let anybody go. But if I'm looking at who I would be safe if I'm in charge.
If you're in charge.
If I'm in charge, I would say, probably J.C. Price. I've seen some good stuff in him. He's got a guy on his line that has 12 sacks, Probably would say he's safe. He's a through and through a Hokie. Shit. I mean, Brooks has done a good job, like Shelton said. Dude, I just feel like it's up in the air, but everybody else, it's up in the air, man. Like JC, Brooks has been fine. I know Shelton said Crook. I'm gonna leave it alone for right now till we talk about other stuff. But yeah, I'm just Coach Mines. Coach Mines is safe, and the reason I say Coach Mines is safe is because of how he's recruited. But when we start to get into other stuff, the main thing with me to why it's so hard for me to say who's safe and who's not is because I feel like part of coaching is who you put in the game. You know what I'm saying? You have to coach your personnel. It's cool to get receivers, but I'm watching other 4-star recruits and 3-star recruits get on the field at other schools. Why not put somebody in and try? Why not let me run somebody on the field to see what they do? Hey, receiver, you're fast. I need you to go run a go route, because these guys apparently are not going to catch a go route. They either aren't getting the separation or they're not going to dive for it. So I just need you to go in there with fresh legs and just run. Just run as fast as you can and try to catch this ball. That's what I need. Let's see what happens. So I'm done.
All right.
Mines, Price, Brooks.
That's all. That's the only people safe. Although Tally says everybody's safe. But then it's up in the air, but nobody's safe. Tally doing philosophical, crazy, Nietzsche's bullshit.
I'm going to have to put the mask back on, man.
No, you good.
3D
No, we
chess.
got to let you go.
Tally got 3D chess going on here.
4D, maybe 5D. Brian, who's safe?
That's a lot of D's, man.
There's a lot of D's.
Hey, I've got 5 names. It's JC Price, it's Fontel, it's Coach Brooks, it's Cheetah, and it's Bowen. They are safe at this point to me. Price, I think, speaks for itself. I think the play of his unit and how he's recruited in the last couple cycles speaks for itself. I think the output that we're seeing from a developmental standpoint and from a recruiting standpoint from Brooks speaks for itself. I think when we look at Fontel, he's shown the capability of bringing in guys. And when we look at Cheetah, I think we're seeing, again, very, very good developmental cornerbacks coach. Hasn't really seen an elite recruit, but also has done a really good job of developing the guys that he's brought in, kind of in that high 3-star, low 4 area there. And to Sheldon's point, I think Bowen, the biggest complaint I have about Bowen is kind of what we've already talked about, is when the chips are down, when we start getting into those moments where we can stomp on a throat, we don't always do that. That's my biggest complaint about him. I think he's done a good job of kind of adapting to his personnel as a play caller, and getting points on the board has been pretty good. So I've got no big qualms with him. But also, I'll pivot on Tally's point a little bit here too, as far as the young guys playing. I think we see this staff has been, in all 3 years, conservative. I think, especially early in the year, of getting young guys on the field in situations where they don't have to. Right, like when you got a veteran at a position. Now, when we look at cornerback and safety, we've had situations where we've had to get guys on the field early for obvious reasons, and those are depth related. But when we look at some of these other positions, we've been a little bit hesitant to get the younger player on the field when we've had the opportunity, just because we do have a little more veteran leadership in that particular room. I'm hoping that changes a little bit. I'm hoping we mix things up as we kind of move into the last 3 games of the season here, because at this point, most of these guys have games they can still burn. Let's give them some run, especially now that we're out of contention for Charlotte. Put them out there and let's see what they can do.
All right, so there we go. So you are JC Brooks, Cheetah Bowen, right?
JC, Mines, Brooks, Cheetah.
You said
Bowen.
Mines. Okay, awesome. I got 4. and these are the only 4 safe in my opinion. JC is definitely safe. The defensive line eats. You see those guys playing at a high level, older, younger, all across the board. Fontel, clearly safe. The recruiting prowess is there. I'm going to throw a curveball because this is one y'all have not mentioned, but he is a stud recruiter. And I got called out a couple weeks ago by somebody not realizing it. Sean Quinn. Sean Quinn's not going anywhere. Sean Quinn recruited Chance Wiggins. He recruited Christian Evans. He recruited Aiden. He recruited Asen Stevens. He recruited Overton. He's Woodson's primary. Think about that right there. Think about all those names. How many of those guys are on the field doing something already? Just about all of them. And Jeff Overton is, as per tally, probably the most underrated running back in the entire country.
Yeah.
Give me also Elijah Brooks. Nobody else is safe. Those guys are safe because I've seen development from their positions. I also saw Sean Quinn take a risk with Caleb Spencer early in the year. And you know he had to go to the table to pry and say, I need Caleb to play. And how much better that room has gotten between Keonta and Caleb Spencer. So that's my 4. If we take a look at all of ours, JC is the safest. Brooks is pretty safe. Then we have our misses here and there. We got Fontel pretty safe. But that's the thing we start seeing. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes because apparently whoever's up in the booth that does the plays, what if that's somebody we listed? What if that's the person that's supposed to be feeding in the 2 minutes? Hey, when to call the timeout, and they're fucking up. You could love them, be like, I love him. He does all this good stuff. And you realize, oh, he's the guy that so still coach when to call timeouts and he ain't doing his job right. How would you feel about that? What if I know Fontel's on the sidelines, but we love Fontel. But what if that was Fontel's job and he was screwing up getting in the timeouts? Would we love him more or would be like, wait a second, you can recruit, but are you not telling them when to call the timeouts right? And that's your job?
You turn
We'd be
into
a lot more pissed with.
Yeah, you turn into a big boy football organization and you get people and designate certain jobs to them. If you ain't doing a good job of telling people when to call a timeout, then you shouldn't be doing that. If you're good at recruiting, put them as a recruiter. I don't know. It's just different things that you can do. And another thing I was going to say too, a lot of people were, I think everybody on here besides me would say, Bowen's doing a good job. He is, kind of safe. And I'm just asking the question, who calls the plays? Does he call the plays? He sends the plays in?
He is the play caller.
Why the fuck would you send a play in for a quarterback that has a bum leg to run the ball? And you did it in 2 games. You did it in Vanderbilt when Kyron was cramping up. He had to come off the field. Then you put him back in and you do a running play that your 2 backup quarterbacks could have did. And then you put Schlee in and he's got a bum ankle and you call a running play. Why not just let Pop Watson run it? I don't know, man. I don't feel like he's safe.
The reason I don't think he's safe, and Shelton, I know you're looking at the statistics and the percentages. There are times he is effectively the guy playing craps. Either he's hitting and it's rolling, or he's rolling snake eyes every time and just busting the board up. Because there are times in the game where it's like, we need a big drive and nothing happens. And now I know that's some execution, that's some on him, but it's still ultimately going to fall on the coach. And that's my bigger issue with him. Because when he's rolling like he was, go back to BC in that first half where everything was hidden. Kyron was nailing the passes, perfect run blocks, lane seal for Duden. That's great. But that third quarter happened, if we don't recall, where we couldn't do a fucking thing. Remember that? We couldn't do a thing, and they got back in the game.
Well,
that's my issue with him.
We also kept giving him the ball.
We did. And
we
he's the offensive coach. But the whole piece is he goes hot and cold. And I'm going to tell you, when it's cold, it's scary. Because you're like, we can't even get 10 yards. We can't even get a first down. That's why I'm more, do you completely fire him? I don't know. But there's obviously things like that. What else y'all got on this subject? Anybody? Nothing?
No, man, not really. Sheldon, you look like you was going to say something.
He did.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that makes this analysis tricky for me is the fact that I feel like the team this year has, first of all, they definitely improved from last year qualitatively. And I think for the most part, they've played good football in terms of just, being efficient and, look, they're top 30 in most of the metrics. They're top 30 in point differential. Like, if you're just looking at the play on the field, they've been a good team for the most part. It's just the complete inability to manage the game is the reason they're 5-4, and that falls on not the assistant coaches, but one person, and I think we know who that is.
And that's where I'm at. Like I'm going through this because that's what we are here to do, but none of it matters if the head man ain't right. Like Sheldon, great job, man. I mean, he summed up kind of everything that I feel is because you can get rid of this or you can do that and you can do this, but it's the head coach. Like I can be mad at Tyler Bowen for things he's doing with the offense, but if the head coach is saying we're up 21-3, do not run any passing plays. I don't know what they're telling him, but I know we have a head coach that runs the program, and he's like 1-11 or 1-12 in one-score games. I need that to change. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna flip it because again, it all is on the head coach. But again, that's why I keep saying it. None of us. What's the old Allen saying, Brian?
Well, you can't do.
No man is an island to himself.
Well, I was thinking more. You can't do the same thing over and over and expect different results. So I mean, if it's not working, you got to do something. So that's the point of the exercise, right? Like whether that's focused on trying to make the head coach better, or whether that's bringing in some guys around the head coach to make him better. But to Shelton's point, it's only going to get so good to a point where at some point you've got to get better at managing the game. Because if you're not managing the game well, you're going to keep consistently losing these tight games.
It's true. That's the honest truth.
That's when those little things that a coach does matters the most. You can have a fuck up or two as a head coach when you're winning by 18 and you keep winning by 18. But when that 18 shrinks down to 3 or 4 or 7, now all those little things that you're doing, those little wrinkles here or there where you don't use a timeout or you don't put your foot on the gas when you need to, that's going to add up.
True. All right. Is there, you got to tell, again, a part of this exercise too is you're the advisor. You're the advisor to Coach Pry. Whether you say get rid of him or we're going to give him another chance, who's the person? I don't care if it's 1, 2, 3. It can be all 9. To Tally's point, I'm sure Tally wants to fire everybody. So it is true. Who's in the box with the book? I don't think I've seen Chris on the sidelines. I don't know who's up in the box with the book. That's going to be now.
On the sidelines because Tebow's in the booth. That's.
I don't think Tebow's got the book. I think it's one of the other analysts.
But I'm just saying, like, you don't give the book to Tebow. I mean,
what do y'all think about Chris? We ain't talking about him. He doesn't slid on the radar. What y'all think about him?
What do I think about Chris?
Yeah.
What I think about Chris is where Kyron is right now. He is the mechanical quarterback coach, right? Bowen's a coordinator. Bowen's trying to get the offense moving. I haven't seen the improvement from Kyron like we were expecting, and I think that falls directly on Brian Chris. I can't remember who I saw say this, and I want to give him credit, but the question is too, you saw Kyron go down to South Beach. Is that who he should have been working out with this year? Was it you, Sheldon? Did you send that? Somebody made that message.
Someone else, yeah.
Somebody made that message. I wish I remember who it was. If it was you, put yourself in the chat. I'll shout you out. But did he make a mistake going down there working out with those guys? He's not those guys. Did he make a mistake working out with the wrong guys in the offseason? I don't know. Is Brian Chris doing a good enough job to develop people? Everybody's like, well, look at Colin Schlee. Colin Schlee had played 6 years. Some guys have just played long enough. The mechanics are going to come more natural to them. So maybe you're right, Tally. Maybe you're looking at some of these analysts who aren't effectively doing their jobs and improving people. But Again,
I don't
that's
know.
what the exercise
mean,
is. It's like asking.
I just look at certain things. I'm like, Pop has been on campus for 2 years, 18 months. What have we seen from him? What can he do for us? Looking at Kyron. I wouldn't say when you talk about, Kyron going and working out with, the other guys and stuff, I wouldn't say that is a bad thing because you are getting some coaching from a quarterback coach.
True.
And you're getting some things that's going to help you monetarily as far as it's NIL or getting you some podcast looks and stuff. But when those players come back, they're coming back to you. You as a coach, you have to take what they've done and what you see and say, that ain't going to work. Or what you've done here, we have to switch that up. Or, hey, you ain't ready. You ain't going to play. I don't know. That's the kind of things I look at from the coaches. I just don't, I don't know, man.
I got you. All right. Well,
that was good.
Let's make some tough decisions here, though, because I like this is James, who got to see the presser today. Not afraid of tough conversations. You had to make the conversation
with yourself and your staff, and not just the players.
Not just the players.
I think we're getting to a point where, that's where we're coming to a head. And
then Brian, who's got to go? You sitting across from Coach Pride. You've been given $100,000. Coach, you got to let these guys go. I'm sorry, or you've got to do this.
To me, it is Coach Marv, and I think Coach Marv is a good guy, but to me, too many late game collapses from this defense, and from looking at him from a coaching perspective, his unit is not good enough to justify also the fact that he is kind of a recruiting liability as well. So you put those three things together, that tells me that Marv has to go.
Okay. Just Marv. Nobody else right now?
If you're saying has to go. So there's going to be some guys that I could have a conversation with you about as well. Okay. But the only person that I think has to go is Coach Marv.
Okay. Shelton?
So I'm going to punt here, and I'm not going to say anyone has to go, but I will say I'm certainly underwhelmed with Marv, given that he's, the leader of the defense. And I think they have stagnated a little bit. I don't think they've really, when I look at the offense, I see a team that's, kind of overperformed a little bit. Like they've sort of made the most out of the cards that they've been dealt. I don't really say the same for the defense because they were good in price. They were decent in price first year. They had the opportunity to build and recruit these last 2 years in the portal. Whereas look at the offense, they were starting literally from scratch, and it's been kind of a slow, steady progress. But the offense has gotten incrementally better every season by, pretty wide margin. The defense, I think they've stagnated.
They took a step back this year. There was a top 30 defense last year. They're taking a step back, and they're like 50-60 this year. So yeah, it's not only stagnated; it's a step back. So
yeah.
And we still got games to play, so that could move. But yes, I think when you look
it's gonna move on.
When you look at who we're still on the player have left to play, I should say. I don't think we're gonna see it take a big step forward going down the stretch.
Not at all. Charlie, you can't fire them all, but you got to tell them, hey, get rid of this.
Call them all in the room and cuss them all out, starting with the head coach. You cuss him too. You messing up too. But Barf, I liked you, buddy. But one of my coaching buddies said you won't recruit none of his players. He's got a championship winning team. I think he's lost 4 games in 4 years at a high school here, and he knows Marv very well. Besides all that, you keep on fucking up, man. And I liked you. I wanted to. But you got to go. Stu Hope, put on your book bag and start hitchhiking.
Put on your book.
Halloween's over. You ain't got to worry about Michael Myers or nobody chasing you. Just ease on down the road.
Does he still have the RV, you think? You think he still got the RV?
It's so hard for me. It's so hard for me for the Stu Hope thing because, we did have a lot of different collapses and things like that. But at the same time, if I'm going to give, go at a coach, I got to give him some credit. We do have John Love, who is the man, he has to be developed by somebody. Peter Moore,
Same.
booming the ball. So Tucker Holloway, if he was there, I feel like Lane this year has been I don't know if he's injured. He's just a step different, especially on punt. I don't know if you can put somebody else back there, but it's been some times when I've seen maybe some holes open up and Lane's just not as quick to get there as he was. So I hate to say it about Stu. Like, I feel bad to say Stu has to go, but if I'm just having that tough conversation, I'm sorry that things ain't work out for you. You did a good job by getting us love, but you got to go too.
All right. First of all, I'm going to put what Jim said up here. Yes, this is the exercise, Jim. You got to throw somebody under the bus. Jim, are you going to keep – Jim, I know you're out there. You're always with us. I love you because you put a great bunch of comments in, and I'm going to throw this right to Jim. So, Jim, are you not letting anybody go? 5-4 is acceptable. 7-6 last year was acceptable. I'm going to put that on you because I'm going to do the other question in a second.
6-6 this year, is that acceptable?
Is that acceptable? Maybe 7-6 with a bowl, 6-7, whatever. But I'm also going to go Marv because I keep saying, y'all, how often is Pry in that room? How many times? Because I'm sitting here and I'm going to say, you know what? The Stanford game, Brent Pry was in that room all week. He created that game plan. That's why we only gave up 7. Then he turned it back over, and then BC, and then all this. So, and it's more of the there's a model out there that got wrote this year by Clark Lee, where if you're a defensive head coach, take over the defense, go find some senior guy to help out with the offense, and look what's happened with Vanderbilt. And I know they have a good quarterback, but you saw that writing happen, right? They beat us. They beat Alabama. They should have beat. They got jobbed to Texas. The Texas was a job. They should have beat Texas. The SEC couldn't let that. SEC couldn't let that happen. They couldn't let that Vanderbilt team beat another good team. But for Chris Marv, Brian says it's the collapses at the end. And y'all, I'm gonna go back. Even like the last couple years, we've had those. We've had those games last year where we fell apart at the end. Think about the Marshall game. I know we always put on the offense, but the defense gave up all the second half points. So, and again, I think he is a nice human being. He's probably a great football mind. But it's like, I think somebody put in the chat about an hour ago when we were first starting, it doesn't feel like he has the killer instinct mentality to be a defensive coordinator, which you have to have. Which you absolutely have to have.
I need my defensive coordinators to be sweaty. I know Marv is black, but I want him to be red like Kirby Smart be. Freaking yelling on the sideline like Will Muschamp used to be. I need to see you like get on somebody. I think we were in zero coverage, and Mansour comes up and tries to jump a route, misses a tackle. Guy looks like he's running with a peg leg and goes and scores a touchdown, and it's 21-3. You get a stop right there if you just come up and tackle that guy. I think it's 4th and 3 or 4th and 4, something like that, and we see what happens, and that's a totally different game. When that happens, I want the camera to pan to my defensive coordinator and him to be a wreck. I want him to throw his headset. I want him to grab the person that messed. I want to see some emotion. You know what I'm saying? I just think our coaching staff is too nice. I think they follow that from the head coach.
All right.
A little too even keel. I think you want even keel, but sometimes it's
you gotta get angry. You gotta get angry.
You gotta have another gear, right? Like I think that's what I think we're maybe missing is that we don't have that extra gear that this staff can kind of light into when they need to kind of bring things back when the wheels fall off a little bit.
All right,
because we see that snowball happen a lot. Now it doesn't happen with the frequency that we saw in year 1, but we're still seeing that snowball effect happen in these games. We're just a lot more talented now, where it doesn't end up, being a completely fall off the cliff situation.
Yep, I'm gonna put up Jim because Jim, appreciate the answer, man. I like this a lot right here. But that's another story, by the way. Robbie agreeing with the linebackers. Y'all think Jim also asked, does anybody bail on us? Well, that's just a fact of life. Somebody could easily leave this offseason and we wouldn't be shocked. So, right? Like as much as Tally was joking on Stu Holt, Kalen DeBoer might be like, man, he knows how to do punters and kickers. We have that problem down at Alabama. Let me go pay him $750,000 if he knows how to train them. That's just a fact of life in coaching in general nowadays at college football, that if somebody from a blue blood program wants one of your guys, they usually can write the checks. So, yeah. All right, last question. And by the way, told y'all I was going to be an hour doing this. I don't lie. I know my boys here. I know how we talk on this shit. But if Brent Pry is let go, and I think, Jim, you put it in there, does Whit Babcock make that decision? Sheldon, I'm putting this on you. You work in athletic departments before. You are an alumni of the school. Should Whit Babcock be the person that makes that decision?
I would say no. I think first of all, Witt is certainly closing on the end of his Virginia Tech tenure, and that's not some drastic statement. Like, he's been here 10 years. He's not going to be here for an extreme long amount of time. Like, you typically you'll get 2 football hires. If you mess up on both of them, that's probably all. So, I could see a situation maybe Witt, in a few years says, hey, you know what, I'm moving on, and then maybe Price stays. Next AD comes in, can reevaluate things from there. But I do think that his tenure is certainly closer to being done than it is to being started. So,
Tally?
He got to get out of there. He can't make no more hires. You can't make no more football hires, buddy. Sorry. I mean, again, I've talked about this with a couple people too. When we hired Fuente, like, that was that not a splash hire? Like, that was Florida State did the same thing. That was a great hire. Like, when they hired Norvell, it was like, man, Florida State did a great job. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes them to the playoffs and something. So I can't put it all on Witt. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it just has to do with fit. I don't think Brett Pry was a bad hire. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to answer that question. It just comes down to kind of what Sheldon says. It's like, okay, like, is it time for him to move on? Is it time for him to go ahead and do something different? And hopefully the next person that comes in has a concentration in something, hopefully football. But again, a lot of people rag on Witt, but I don't think that the hires that he made were, like, erroneous. Like, I don't think they were crazy.
yeah.
I just think that sometimes it doesn't work out. Now, do we stick with stuff too long? That may be more of the issue of how long do you let somebody stay before it's time for them to go, or you make them make changes.
I will say this. I have a bigger problem with not necessarily who that he's picked for a lot of these spots, but maybe how he's managed them after that pick. And that's to Tally's point a little bit, whether it goes back to how quickly you put yourself behind the 8 ball with Fuente's contract with that extension. We can talk about some other things on the basketball front. I mean, there are things that I think we do sometimes where we lock ourselves into bad situations. If you lock yourself into a bad situation, then you have to own it a little bit more than you have.
Yep.
And that means let your guy know, hey, if it's not working, you got to do something different. Whether that's fire guys, hire guys, do something. If you're going to put yourself in a position where you have less control over the situation from a contract standpoint, you have to govern that a little more close to your vest and not just be the guy that's overseeing the big ship here. So that's been my problem with Witt. And to that point, you've had 2 situations where you got into this point, you don't get a third.
No, nope. Sheldon, close us out.
Yeah, so just to kind of, put a capper on the Witt discussion, I will say I think, Witt's always been a big baseball guy. Like, he played baseball at JMU, and I talked with John Sheff one time. He straight up told me, like, he's perceived as a guy that really gets baseball. So that's kind of his sport. That's his expertise. And say what you want about the baseball program. Obviously, don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
All right.
But I think as an AD, like you have to have a certain type of feel for what a sport needs. Like I was listening to a podcast with a softball coach I used to work with, and she was telling me like when she took the job at the school she was working at, like she had an AD who really understood softball and what that program needed to be successful. I think the issue with Witt is that he just does not have the football background to sort of have a good feel for like what good coaching looks like and what the program necessarily needs to be successful. And that's not to say that everything's bad or maybe pride does work out eventually, but I just think there's something missing on a fundamental level that sort of stems from the fact that Witt just isn't truly on a fundamental level a big football guy. And I think you can kind of see that kind of filter out to the rest of the program.
All righty. So there it is. We told our truth as much as we could on the situation. Obviously, I think we all feel this way, and I don't think anybody doesn't feel this way. Where we stand right now, changes have to be made. Changes have to be made. Because I'm like what somebody said in the chat a little while ago. We sat here in December. I'm trying to get the exact day. When's the last press conference? December. It's probably my mama's birthday. December 2nd? Yeah, 2nd. If December 2nd, there is not a discussion of so-and-so have been let go, so-and-so has been let go, so-and-so has been let go, we're moving forward, then guess what? Somebody like me at a 5, I'm coming up with Tally and Shelton, I'm like at a 7. Because then it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, fucking is Tally, you put the record up a little bit earlier to us, 15-18. 15-18 don't work. Don't care if you win these last 3 games and get to 18-18. 18-18 does not work, especially when this is the case. You're 1-11 in one-score games. Yo, he's 14-7 in other games. You imagine flipping that narrative of close games and just splitting it in half and being like 20-13? We'd be feeling really good from where we were in 2022. But that is what it is. Anything else y'all want to say before we do have to talk about the keys to this game this weekend? And I know I told y'all this was going to take a lot out of us. We've been talking all this shit for the last hour. So anything else? I'll give you all
I got, man. I've got it off my chest. I'm ready to move on. Let's talk about the keys to this Clemson game. Let's talk some predictions, and then let's make some fun picks to close this bitch out. And then y'all can go look at the electoral maps if y'all want to.
No, I've got that up over here. Well, Brian, you said what's your keys?
I mean, I think we already talked about it a lot tonight, and it's gonna carry over here, man. I need to see great situational football from the coaches and the players in this game. That's what I want to see. That's the key to success.
All right. Sheldon Talley.
Well, I'll go next. I hate to kind of sound redundant and say what Brian says, but mine was coach. You have to coach. To beat Clemson, you're going to have to, I don't even want to say out coach them. You're going to have to coach them, though. You're going to have to coach. You're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have some timeouts called at the right times and you got to go in and coach. I'll even go a step farther. You got to coach like your job depends on it. That's going to be a key to beating Clemson. You can't be going in here and happy that Hokie Nation showed up and we sold out another game. You got to be, if we don't win this game, this might be it. Like we need to have that mindset for the rest of the year as the coaching staff, in my opinion.
What about you, Shelton?
Act like you're the better team. I mean, we've seen Tech, handle competition against teams that they should, that they're better than. And I think this is a game where, for the first time in a long time, VT has a good chance to beat Clemson. I think they match up well. I think that the teams aren't too different, and this is a game that they're more than capable of winning. So come into the game acting like you're the better team, expecting that you should win.
I like that. I'm going to go back to something that a couple people said earlier. I want to see meanness. And when I say meanness, not only from the players, but from the coaches, I want to see Brent Pry this week because there's going to be some bullshit call. There's one every week. to fucking get in, slam something, show emotion. I want to see guys on the sideline show emotion. I want to see if a player fucks up. I want to see we saw Frank do it, y'all. Even older Frank would grab a guy by the face mask and get in their face. We saw that. Get mean. Set a tone. Because nice guys don't win football games. Assholes win football games. And we're playing too nice. Get mean. Because I think one of those wide receivers go across the middle and Most Phillips lays the hammer on them. Don't get a targeting penalty, please. We ain't good enough at safety to lose somebody. Set the tone. Coaches set the tone. That's the key to me this week. And I'm going to go ahead and roll into my prediction. And as much as I want to see them play mean, I think, unfortunately, Clemson getting kicked in the balls last weekend was not good for us. I think we play competitive, but I do think we lose this game somewhere in the neighborhood. Similar to Miami, like a 38-31 game. I do think we put some points on them, even though that defense is good. Knowing Capehart is out now, knowing Tootin likely back under their questionable, I think they get us by a touchdown.
Yeah, I said I'll go. My prediction was I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. Clemson probably about 45-28. So we got too many people injured, from, process. This person questionable. They're probably not playing. So I think we got too many people injured to come out with a win in this game.
All right.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately going to have to take Clemson. A couple of reasons, like Curtis said, they're going to be pissed off coming into this game with their loss last week. And they have a full game of film to study Schley and the backup running back. So I don't feel great about the matchup. I think VT will backdoor cover, but Clemson wins 30-24.
I like the Tigers in this one, 34-28. I don't think we're going to have enough gas in this on either side of the football to really get it done, take care of business here. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people are thinking, especially after last week and especially considering who we may or may not have playing. I'm not really sure what to take away from that because, last week we got a probable designation and then we had more
Nobody
than
played.
we expected. And then now we got a questionable designation for more players, but so who's going to really know what that looks like? But let me ask you this. So we got our predictions in there. We all think the Tigers are going to win. And I'm going to shout out Grayson Wimbish on this one. But if we win, is that going to piss you off a little bit?
No. Why?
So given the outcomes in Rutgers, Miami, against Syracuse, but then you go and beat Clemson
when it don't even matter.
Now doesn't matter. That could have mattered if you'd have just taken care of business.
Let me tell you, going to bed on Saturday night with a win, I don't give a fuck who it's over, is a hell of a lot better than going to bed with a fucking loss. All right, so that's some dumb bullshit. Grayson, I love you, but that's stupid. I will be mad if we beat Clemson because you say what you want to say to what Jonathan Talley said this year. That'd be a signature. There'd be kids saying, well, they fucked up those games, but they can beat a team that good. Right?
Yeah, I won't be mad if we win. I just know that we ain't, so I ain't even thinking about it.
Yeah, always appreciate every win you get, especially against the top 25 team.
You got to appreciate the win. You also got to think, well, this gets you bowl eligibility for whether you care about that or not. It gets you there with 2 games left to play. It's frustrating though. I get it being frustrating. I'm not going to be mad at the win, but I can be frustrated at the win because you've proved against teams like Miami, then you go against a team and you take a win against a team like Clemson. You prove that you can do it. Your consistency and those situational plays and coaching mistakes have cost you a chance to play for something more.
But what it tells you is who in my room did so much better this week that fucked up against Syracuse, who fucked up against Van. Because that's where your notes need to be taken. Oh, he's coaching his A off this week, but what did he do? Look at that week. He was a little lackadaisical. Not as enthusiastic, not as punishing, not as right in people's faces. Clemson week, he got up. That's like players too, right? You get mad at players like he's trying to play his best right now because it's the national stage. Play it every game like that. All right, sorry. All right. Anything else, gentlemen, as we close the door on that and move over to some gambling picks?
I'm all set, buddy. Let's do it.
Let's rock big screeners as we get into week 11. Week 11. And as always, Brian Siegler kicks us off. Which part of the country are you traveling to, Brian?
Hey, we're going back to Nashville, baby. We got the fighting Beamers heading to Vandy. Vandy getting 3.5 at home. And I mean, Vandy has played to the level of every single opponent they faced this season, and I don't think that changes. I think Vandy, with that home field advantage, escapes. I think they went out right here, so give me Vandy.
Yep, I'm with you. I think South Carolina is coming off the biggest win of Shane Beamer's career down there, and I think it's going to be a letdown game. And I think it's also exactly what you just said, Brian. Vanderbilt shows up every week for who they play against. Doesn't matter who it is, the best team or the worst team. So I think when they're a home dog, give me the 3.5. I think Vanderbilt wins outright as well.
I took USC. Although Curtis makes a good point. I feel like they're probably due for an emotional letdown, but I don't know. I think they're legit. I think Coach Beamer's building up something pretty special. So I think Vandy's due for a loss too.
I took Vandy. They got some voodoo, man, at that field, so I'm just gonna say Vandy.
As long as they're playing games there while that thing is still under construction, they're gonna have some sort of weird advantage.
Yeah,
they're gonna keep that thing under construction for the next 10 years.
Yep.
All right, Miranda goes
and
Vandy.
Jason rode along with the rest of us there, Sheldon. So you're out there on an island.
He is on an island.
I'm wolfing it. Oh, that's okay. You guys are sheep. That's okay.
Ooh. All righty. Well, I'm taking us to Atlanta, where the number 4 in the CFP, we didn't get to talk about that tonight because we had to unload our emotional baggage from Virginia Tech. The number 4 ranked Miami Hurricanes go down to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech getting 11. Haynes King, I did do some research on that. Still not sure if he's back or not. But even if he's back, I think you saw last week, Miami starts putting the gears. Duke has a good defense. And when they start putting the gears down, you see it. It's like they do not miss when they're on offense. They are going to score, and they're going to score a lot. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. Give me 45-28 Miami.
Yeah, Curtis, I'm with you there. I think Miami's just got too much on offense. Even if King is able to go, I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be able to keep up with that Miami offense. So I think the Hurricanes will win by about 2 touchdowns here.
Sheldon?
I feel like Miami's due for a sloppy game. They'll still win, but I think King will throw a couple dumb picks, and maybe GT will surprise people a little bit.
All right.
I'm going Miami.
Is he an island again?
No,
nope,
Miranda's joining him this week.
Miranda's joining him on this one.
Jason's sticking with the rest of the fellas here.
All righty. Shelton Moss, you have the next one, sir.
I was super excited about this game, the Holy War, a state that I have a clear affection for in Utah. Matchup of a team in BYU that's been moving up the CFP rankings with each and every win, and a team that's kind of fallen off of Utah, but still has some good talent on that team. So I think it'll be an interesting game. I'm going to take Utah. I think they'll be motivated in a big rivalry game. I don't know what trophy they call it, but whatever trophy it is, they'll keep it in Salt Lake City.
I dig that, and I'm riding with you there, Shelton. I think this does come down to a field goal there at the end, but I think that 4 points at home, this type of rivalry, just a little too rich for my blood. So give me Utah.
All right. First of all, they play for the Beehive Boot in the Holy War.
Okay,
that's Beehive Boot. Everybody look that up. One of those interesting things. BYU ranked 9th in the CFP. If y'all didn't see, they would be the 4th seed. They would get a bye if things hold out. But in this one, being in Salt Lake City, being at Utah 4-4. By the way, you want to talk about a team with expectations that have fell flat. Utah preseason top 10, now 500. Y'all imagine if we were ranked 10th and we were 5-4. Y'all thinking hours long would have done tonight? Oh no, we would have been going for 2 just on.
What
that
if you was
tonight.
ranked 10th and you were 1-7?
It's not FSU rock bottom.
It ain't FSU rock bottom, but still, they should have been better. But I'm kind of with Brian. I think I'll take Utah with the points. I think BYU probably sneaks it out though. Tally, what are you thinking, man?
I'm gonna take BYU, man. I just think they're playing good ball, and Utah is not. So it's gonna be a holy war, and BYU is gonna be on the side of the Lord, or whatever they
pray to.
their version of the Lord.
All right, we got Miranda taking Utah. Jason riding with Tally, saying "Go Cougars, go Cougars." Oh, Tally. Oh, you showed me. Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Alabama and LSU, man. It is always a good game, a good rivalry game here. Everybody gets together down here for that game. It's similar to the Iron Bowl. Those games used to be like knockdown dragouts, 6-9, 3-6 games between Alabama and LSU. My halftime's changed where the offenses are different, but just because it is going to LSU, I think that LSU is going to pull this game out. I think they probably beat Alabama by about 7 is what I would think.
By the way, LSU is getting the points, Brian. LSU is a home dog on that one. And what about you, Brian?
Did I put it in here wrong? That's
you put it. You flip flopped it. That's fine. We can correct it.
Yeah, that's my bad.
It's all right.
That's why I was riding with Alabama here. I think Alabama's gonna win this by at least a touchdown.
All right, I'm going with Tally with this one. I think LSU is. I think after the loss to A&M, I think they bounce back. This isn't the Alabama of old being at Death Valley at night. I think that's enough. Tally, I think you're about right. I think a touchdown's about right, and probably like a 31-38 game is going to be fun to watch Saturday night. And I think that with that effectively is going to keep out. Bama's not making the playoff after this game.
Yeah, I'm taking. I'm taking Bama. They're coming off a bye week. I think they're going to stomp them, honestly. I mean, not too big of a win, but they'll come out and they'll handle business.
All right. This is an elimination game, pretty much. One of these teams will not make the playoff, whoever loses this game. So there's Tally. We're together.
Yep. Miranda
with us. We got a split house here on this game. All righty. Miranda is going out to Lubbock, where, again, we got another home dog. Texas Tech laying 3.5 to Colorado. Colorado, a sneaky 6-2 right now. Texas Tech coming off the big upset over Iowa State last week. Brian Siegler, how do you see this one playing out?
I mean, you got to give Deion some credit. He's accomplished probably what the goal of this team was 8 games into the year, sitting there at 6-2. So I'm riding with the Buffaloes here.
Yep, I'm right with you on that. I think Texas Tech, it's again to get up again. I don't think they'll do it even at home. I just don't see this happening. Give me Colorado. I'll lay 3.5.
Man, that Colorado offense is a buzzsaw right now. I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. I think they're going to go to 7-2.
Yeah, give me Colorado as well. I've not watched one play from Texas Tech. Is mainly the only reason that I say it, Colorado, but I do think Colorado wins.
And we are rolling as a.
Oh man! Well, we didn't put the voodoo curse right there. Colorado going to lose by 20 points now because we all rode together on this one. All righty. Last but not least, as always, let's end with the song "Our Music Man" with Michigan, Indiana.
folks, let's jam it out to a little John Mellencamp. He's one of Indiana's favorite sons, and that's where I'm headed for this week's edition of Guitar Licks and Gambling Picks. Michigan travels to Indiana on Saturday, and the Hoosiers have been flat out rolling this year. They're 9-0, and they're 8-1 against the spread. So I'm going to take Indiana minus 12.5 points this Saturday against Michigan. Oh, I cannot forget from where it is I come from. I can't forget the people who really love me. Well, I can see myself here in a small town, and people let me be just what I want to be. Yeah, yeah, oh. Well, I can't believe I'm saying it, being a sycamore and all, but go Hoosiers, minus 12.5 versus Michigan. See you next week.
All righty, there we go. Jason taking Indiana there. John Mellencamp. I'm surprised he did not do Jack and Diane so he could say sucking on chili dogs outside the Tasty Foodies.
We don't need all that sucking on chili dogs, homie.
Hey, if they keep winning, he gonna probably put the Ohio State game on there, and he might do another Mellencamp song. Let's move on. He's taking Indiana. He is laying a boat ton of points. What are you doing, Brian?
And that's the problem with this one, man. 12.5 is just a little too rich for my blood. I think Michigan keeps it close, and Hoosiers win, but it's tight.
Yep. I'm with you on that. I think Michigan's going to get up for this one. 12.5 is too much. And we caught the line early. That thing's up. I think it's at 14 now. I'm going to check out on the book real quick, but I think
it needs to be at least like 9.5 before I would have bit.
Man, I'm telling you. Sheldon Moss?
Yeah, India is definitely going to win, but Michigan will do just enough to cover. I think they've got enough talent to keep it a little bit close, even though they're having a big down year, obviously.
Huge down year. Tally?
Yeah, I'm going to go Michigan. Line is too big.
Too big. Too big. Man, everybody's against the Music Man this week. Everybody against him. By the way, that line did get to 14.
Wild, man.
All right. So
a lot of money's coming in on them because they are on a hot streak. So
they are. And they're blowing and they're blowing teams out.
They're
putting teams to bed. By the way, it's the narrative in the last few years too has also flipped. You can hire an old coach. You can hire somebody in their 60s and you can do shit. Signetti's 62 years old. So I am,
He's got the juice.
He got the juice. All right. Anything else y'all want to add before we get a wrap on this thing tonight?
I got nothing, man. Just go play football on Saturday.
Go play football. It's 3:30. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast. Brought to you by the Counts Family Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
And I'm Sheldon Moss.
We are part of the College Huddle Network. Check out our website, Boundary Corner BT, to listen to all of our episodes. Check out Miranda's recap with a little bit of her own little spin on what she thinks should be happening with the coaches as we go forward. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Your favorite podcast sources, all of that stuff. And I'm going to say it one last time. Congratulations again to Jonathan Harris. Let me get the name exactly out here. Brian, where'd it go?
Jonathan Harris, 8975 is the winner.
You are the winner. You need to reach out to us to claim your prize because we do need to ship it to you. There it is right there. A piece of Hokie history is now all yours. For all y'all who entered, still want it, go to the website, Gold Post Pyramid. You'll see it, select it, go buy it. As always, Jason, who played that wonderful rendition of Small Town by John Mellencamp, check him out at jasonlongmusic.com. Links you to all of his music pages, including his live events down near the Roanoke area. We appreciate y'all always for listening. Appreciate y'all in the chat tonight with your feedback. It's tough to say this week because it's always tough after a loss, but as always, let's go.
Hokie.
Hokie.